Yeah.
Let me get to the Senator District 34, Juan Barnett. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Paul. How
Pull
are
that
you?
mic down a little bit. I'm sorry. Just told you the wrong way there. You doing okay, sir?
I'm doing just fine.
Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a long time there. Are you ready for a special session?
I'm ready if the governors wouldn't.
Have you heard anything about a special session?
I have not.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been much talk about it, and
I'm beginning to think, and some people think that it may not happen because it's getting a little bit late on. But I want to talk about any bills that you're going to have as far as addressing the situation in the correction situation that we have. Or what bills are you going to bring forth this year?
not really. I just have one main bill, Paul, that I've talked to several people around the state and some industries about, and have gained their support. And one of them is, when an individual is released from prison, a lot of manufacturing companies have approached me and told me that they would like to hire these people, but they're afraid to, not because of what the individual have done in the past, but because of the amount of the investment they would have to put into training the individual, and the individual having to take quite a bit of time off of work to go and see the parole officer and all of these things. So they feel like the investment that they're making is not really paying off. And so what I would like to do is introduce a piece of legislation that would be a voluntary basis, that the employer would send in this individual's timesheet weekly. Also, that the employer will agree to make any fines and fees that the individual owed to MDOC or whomever, make it payroll deductible, and to also do drug tests according to any guidelines that may be given by MDOC. And business industry are liking this because of the fact that individual
would sign on to that.
They would sign, because the individual does not have to leave work for 2 or 3 hours or 4 hours at a time, and then now they have to bring someone in to fill that position while that person is gone. So I feel like it's a win-win for the business as well as the individual that they're going to have.
There is, how could they be trained? They can't get a work release to work in that particular factory or whatever that job happens to be, but is there a way, and you can't train them. It's not like a community college. I'm searching for things here. How do you make that leap to train them while they're being incarcerated?
Well, under Senate Bill 2795 that the governor signed in the law last year, that's one of the requirements for those individuals seeking to be paroled, to get a parole date, is that they have to participate in job training that's being offered by MDOC. And if MDOC cannot offer that job training, then they are to contract with regional jails who may have the opportunity to work with junior colleges to get them the training that they need.
So you're leaving. Are you going to be paid while you're doing that? Is there some finances that helps you get by when you're out?
Well, when they get out, then they have this training. No, there's no money for the inmate when they get out, but the training is there. And there's people now that's willing to hire these inmates, because if you look around, there's a help wanted sign every
what I'm saying is the company that's going to hire them and train them, they're going to be a salary attached to it, so they could. You got to find a way to eat when you get out.
Oh yes, yes. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, those companies are willing to hire them and pay them.
Sounds like it's a win-win for both of them.
It is. But like I said, the problem now is that when an individual is released, then for 3 or 4 hours, on a weekly basis, then they have to go and see the parole officer and all this kind of stuff. So,
it's in the reality, Mr. Chairman, it's the same thing with the National Guard. Some employees say, I can't do it. I'm patriotic and everything else, but this is the stumbling block, and you can understand that.
Oh, yes.
So, is that the template, or is that the same type of program used by some other states?
I don't know of any other state that does that. And, most of the time when I run these things through my mind and stuff, Paul, is that I'm not looking to see what other states are doing. I try to pay attention to everything that's happening here in Mississippi and try to work as best I can. So to see what other states have done, I have no idea.
You will be chairman now for the first time as far as the Senate's concerned when we have an execution. Will you be there, or how's that work out?
No, I will not participate in the execution. Not that I'm for it or against it, but that's just one of those areas that I try not to get into.
It was kind of eye-opening to interview Burl Cain on the subject several times back, and it's something that he hates. It's just one of those things that is something he wishes he could avoid. In this particular case, the guy wants to have it done. He's ready. So, and I think that's coming up, November the 17th or somewhere around
I think
there?
so, yes.
Have you read the bill here? This is the bill that you may be called upon to vote on.
The medical marijuana bill? I have.
You've read all of this?
I have.
You have actually read all of this?
I've just about
Now, if you are the bill that you were talking about, you said you could get a drug test. Would marijuana be inclusive in that drug test?
I'm not going to tell the employers, what to search for and what not to search for. I think that should be left up to the employer. If they choose to drug test for marijuana, then they should have that right to.
Have you been in communication with the commissioner as far as some of the finances needed and some of the things that he wants to get done in the 2022 session?
You mean Commissioner Cain?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked some. As a matter of fact, he's in support of the legislation that I just talked about. He really is. But yes, we have talked about. There's still a shortage. There's still some monies that needs to be placed aside for MDLC to be able to do some other things. So
the churches that I think one of the things that he wanted to get built, and that was the last time we were talking, were a little bit slower than he wanted to get those things up and running.
It is. But he's been there with a year now, and I think he's made a lot of progress there.
Your District 34 is where?
I cover all of Jasper, half of Jones, and part of Forest County.
Yeah. How do you think the medical marijuana situation is going to fall there, and what do you think it's going to do as far as those counties are concerned?
Well, I think it'll be an opportunity for some individuals or some of the municipalities or counties to see an increase in the revenue as a result of the sales of it. But there's a few things, like everybody else, that I have a few reservations about in regards to the medical marijuana bill. So,
which would be what?
Well, my whole stance as far as corrections is being to try and wrong some of the rights that we have done as far as sentences and those type of things. And one of the problems that I have with that is, there's several, I'm sure there's at least 1,000 individuals that are incarcerated right now waiting to be sent to Parchman for sale of marijuana within 1,500 feet of a church, school, or daycare, anything like that. But in the current bill, then churches and other places have the options to sign a waiver to allow the sale of the same thing within 1,000 feet. So I think, marijuana is marijuana to me, Paul.
But you don't draw a distinction between someone just arrested or detained from using marijuana to someone selling marijuana?
Well, I mean, I think if it's marijuana, it's marijuana. Who knows? That individual that bought it 1,500 feet, I'm not saying that the individual that sold it was not wrong, but, that individual that bought it may have been using it for medical purposes.
Why would it matter if he's near a school, he or she is near a school or any place where if they were selling marijuana, it's illegal to use and sell? Exactly.
So my thing is now that that we're about to make it legal, and we're saying that it could be sold within 1,000